very good evening. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you and I welcome you all to this edition of News Tonight on Rajya Sabha television, where we get you all the big stories from India and across the world, including all the updates on the coronavirus pandemic. And Russia today declared itself the first country to approve a COVID-19 vaccine, with President Vladimir Putin saying that one of his daughters has also been inoculated. That and much more coming up ahead. Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu completes the 3 years in office today. On the occasion, Naidu spoke about his efforts and outcomes as Vice President of the country and Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. He said before the coronavirus-induced lockdown, he had 20 engagements per month, during which he spoke at over 70 public events and 14 convocation ceremonies. As he came to terms with the confinement, the Vice President redefined the norms of engagement and made extensive use of technology platforms to connect with the people. He was addressing an event to launch a book chronicling his tenure so far.
Speaking at the event marking the completion of his 3 years in office, Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu emphasized that the functioning of Rajya Sabha has shown certain winds of change. He said it is evident in the consistently higher level of productivity and increased legislative output over the last few sessions. He informed that the overall productivity of the last 8 sessions presided over by him during the last 3 years has been 65.50%. This is despite the intervening election year seriously impacting the functioning of the House for 3 sessions. The functioning of the upper house was marked by sustained high levels of productivity of 104% during the 249th session, 99% during the 250th session, and 76% during the 251st session.
The expectations of the people are very high, and we are House of Elders. So we must set up standards and live up to the expectations of the people. Whatever change was visible in the functioning of the Rajya Sabha, it was an account of understanding shown and cooperation extended by the leaders and members of various parties. I compliment all of them for the same and urge them to do even more. We need to ensure that our parliament and legislatures become more vibrant and robust by raising the standards and qualities of debates, as also by adopting a constructive approach.
Referring to the improvement in legislative output as an indication of change, the Rajya Sabha chairman said that out of the 93 bills passed by Rajya Sabha during the last 3 years of his chairmanship, 60 of them, accounting for 65% of the total, were passed during the last 3 sessions.
60 bills amounting to 65% of the total were passed during the last 3 sessions. This further supports the visible winds of change in the form of improved legislative output. This has to be noted. The functioning of the 8 department-related standing committees of Rajya Sabha has been another area of my concern. I have been sharing the same with the chairman of those committees and leaders of various parties. I am happy to report that the average attendance in the meetings of these committees have for the first time crossed over 50% during 19 and 20.
Naidu also stated that the functioning of the 8 department-related parliamentary standing committees of Rajya Sabha has been an area of concern and focus for him. Speaking about improvements in this regard, he said the attendance in the meetings of these committees has crossed the 50% mark for the first time in the last 1 year. He thanked all sections of the House and all leaders for their understanding and cooperation in improving the functioning of the House. At the same time, he also expressed concern over 1/3 of the functional time of the House being lost due to disruptions during the last 8 sessions. He urged members of the House to effectively address this disruption quotient.
In line with this spirit, despite composition of the House and stated positions, Rajya Sabha has recently passed certain major bills like the Triple Talaq Bill, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill, which is historic, and the Citizenship Amendment Bill. The House has also witnessed quite a few quality debates and also discussions. Amidst the winds of change, I am aware that about 1/3 of the valuable functional time of the House was lost due to disruptions. during the last 8 sessions. Collectively, all sections of the House need to strive to bring down this disruption quotient.
In his address, the Vice President also lauded the recent initiatives of the government to improve the ecosystem of governance, innovation and entrepreneurship, and the emphasis being laid on building a knowledge society. He cited the new education policy 2020 in this regard and once again spoke on the need to promote mother tongue as the medium of instruction, at least at the primary level. Referring to the efforts of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in transforming the nation, Naidu called for a strong resolve and collective efforts to realize Shresth Bharat, Swasth Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
To mark the completion of Vice President Naidu's 3 years in office, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar released the book titled Connecting, Communicating, Changing.
Marking the completion of M. Venkaiah Naidu's 3 years in office as Vice President, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh released a publication titled Connecting, Communicating, Changing. Organised by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the event was held at the Vice President's official residence in New Delhi. The book defines the contours of Naidu's efforts and outcomes in the last 3 years as the Vice President and Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Talking about his mission Connect, the Vice President said his target groups have been the farmers, the youth, especially the students, scientists, administrators, captains of the industry and the Indian diaspora during foreign visits. The objective of connecting and communicating with them was to know their perspectives and to share with them his experiences, worldview and the way forward for building a new India. The mission acquired a different dimension due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
In line with this spirit, despite composition of the House and stated positions, Rajya Sabha has recently passed certain major bills like the Triple Talaq Bill, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill, which is historic, and the Citizenship Amendment Bill. The House has also witnessed quite a few quality debates and also discussions. Amidst the winds of change, I am aware that about 1/3 of the valuable functional time of the House was lost due to disruptions during the last 8 sessions. Collectively, all sections of the House need to strive to bring down this disruption quotient.
Praising the efforts of the Vice President, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said, the book chronicling his journey will benefit students and administrators.
मैं मानता हूं कि कहीं ना कहीं कुछ इन्हीं की कौशल, इनके फॉर्म कन्विक्शन का ही परिणाम है कि सबसे प्रोडक्टिव सेशन यदि किसी के कार्यकाल में कोई एक सेशन रहा है तो हमारे आदरणीय वेंकैया नायडू जी के कार्यकाल में रहा.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said the book is about connecting with people via communication and for changing India.
मैं तो कहूँगा कि सभी कॉलेज के छात्र या जिनको भी अच्छा भाषण सीखना है, अच्छा भाषण करना है, अच्छे संदर्भ जुटाना है, वो अगर केवल वेंकैया जी के भाषणों को फॉलो करेंगे तो भी वो कभी भाषण में पूरा विचार होता है, पूरी इमोशन होती है.
The book captures through words and pictures the range of engagements and activities of the Vice President during the last 1 year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The coffee table book has been brought out by the Publication Division of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting.
The new book describes M. Venkaiah Naidu's 3 years as Vice President of India, running into 251 pages with 334 pictorial illustrations. It gives an account of the range of his engagements in the last 1 year. The book contains the important speeches by the Vice President and captures through words and pictures his various activities, including his travels in India and abroad. It also provides a glimpse of the Vice President's interactions with farmers, scientists, doctors, youth, administrators, industry leaders and artists, among others. The coffee table book highlights the vision, aspirations, thoughts and ideas of the Vice President. Besides covering events like the Vice President's foreign visits, his interaction with the world leaders, and his addresses to the Indian diaspora in different countries. The changes Vice President Naidu introduced for effective functioning of the Rajya Sabha and the resultant improvement in the productivity of the upper house are also mentioned in the book. The book also narrates how the Vice President effectively embarked upon a mission connect during the coronavirus-induced national lockdown to inquire about the well-being of his near and dear ones, including old-time associates, spiritual leaders, journalists and MPs. He also telephonically interacted with chief ministers, governors, leaders of various political parties in both houses of parliament and all MPs of the Rajya Sabha. The title of the book, Connecting, Communicating and Changing, shows the philosophy of Vice President that he calls the 3 Cs. M. Venkaiah Naidu completed 3 years as Vice President of India on Tuesday. Before assuming the position, Naidu was a union minister and also former national president of the BJP.
And President Ramnath Kovind congratulated M. Venkaiah Naidu on Tuesday on completing 3 years as Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman.
In a letter, President Kovind said, as Vice President, Naidu has already emerged as an inspiration for posterity to learn from his ability to transform a mix of wisdom, energy and spirited enthusiasm into creative solutions for sustained nation building. The President said, as Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Naidu has set the record of conducting legislative business on an unprecedented scale. Kovind said Naidu's profound understanding of the law and the Constitution has enabled him to take a righteous approach in public service. The President also prayed for Venkaiah Naidu's good health. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also congratulated Venkaiah Naidu for completing 3 years in office as Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman. Birla said Venkaiah Naidu has strengthened parliamentary traditions and has streamlined the functioning of Rajya Sabha. He praised Naidu for the immaculate way in which he connects with the masses. Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi lauded Venkaiah Naidu for completing 3 glorious years in office, calling him a hard-working and result-oriented person.
On to some other news. As many as 9 parliamentary standing committees met on Tuesday and held discussions on various issues of public interest.
The Standing Committee on Agriculture held discussions on ensuring quality of milk and consumer grievance redressal mechanism in the dairy sector with representatives of the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. At the meeting of Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, representatives of the State Bank of India, SIDBI and NABARD spoke on strengthening credit flows across the economy. Finance Secretary and Secretary, Department of Financial Services presented their views on the subject. Meanwhile, representatives of Cellular Operators Association of India and Telecom Equipment Manufacturers Association of India apprised the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information and Technology on the suspension of telecom services and internet and its impact and India's preparedness for 5G. The Committee on Chemicals and Fertilizers also held its meeting. Representatives of the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers apprised the committee on the revival of closed and sick fertilizers units and on review of Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. The Public Accounts Committee also held 2 meetings.
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Tuesday inaugurated a French language learning course in the Parliament House complex. It is aimed at encouraging officials to learn foreign languages in order to facilitate Parliament's increasing engagement with overseas counterparts and international institutions. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla inaugurated the French language learning course in Parliament House complex. The program is organized by the Parliamentary Research and Training Institute for Democracies, or PRIDE. 45 officers of the Lok Sabha Secretariat will be taught French for 3 months. 2 classes will be held every week between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Courses will be expanded to include other foreign languages like German, Russian and Spanish. On the occasion, Speaker Om Birla said different language courses will increase the efficiency of Parliament.
और हम चाहते हैं कि पूरे विश्व के लोकतंत्र में भारत सबसे मजबूत लोकतंत्र, पारदर्शिता लोकतंत्र और दिशा देने वाला लोकतंत्र हो। दुनिया के सभी संसद के सचिवालय के कर्मचारी अधिकारी भारत की संसद में आकर प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त करें। उसके लिए हमें उन सब देशों की भाषाओं का ज्ञान होना भी आवश्यक है। जब भी हम ठीक तरीके से उनका प्रशिक्षण कर पाएंगे, उनसे आदान प्रदान कर पाएंगे और हम भाषा में स्किल होंगे तो भाषाओं के माध्यम से उनसे जुड़ पाएंगे।
Apart from taking part in multilateral forums like the Inter-Parliamentary Union and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Union, legislative delegations make overseas visits on goodwill missions and receive guests from other countries. The language courses are an attempt to improve communication between the delegations. India's linguistic diversity is well represented in Parliament, with facilities for MPs to express themselves and be understood in all the 22 languages of the 8th schedule. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And now an update on the COVID-19 situation in our country. And the single-day COVID-19 cases in India dipped below 55,000 on Tuesday after 60,000 cases a day were recorded for 4 straight days. Now, India's total COVID-19 tally is 22.68 lakh. Recoveries have crossed 15.83 lakh, while the recovery rate has improved to 69.6%. Death rate has declined to 1.99%. India recorded 53,601 new COVID-19 infections and 871 deaths on Tuesday. India now has only 6.39 lakh active cases. This is 28% of the total COVID-19 tally of 22.68 lakh so far. Deaths due to COVID-19 virus are 45,257. The death rate has fallen to 1.99%, while the recovery rate is near 70%.
इस सप्ताह में जो रिकवर्ड पेशेंट्स हैं उनकी संख्या 15 लाख के हिस्टोरिक नंबर को पार कर गई है और जो केस फेटिलिटी रेट है वो पहली बार 2% से नीचे 1.99% हो गया है।
Total 2.52 crore samples have been tested so far, including 6.98 lakh samples on Tuesday. India is now testing 18,320 samples per million people. Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh reported the most number of cases in the last 24 hours. These states also had the most number of single-day casualties. Maharashtra has the highest number of coronavirus cases, followed by Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. The World Health Organization said India recorded more cases in a single day than the United States and Brazil between August 4th and August 10th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday held a virtual interaction with chief ministers of 10 states on the COVID-19 situation. These states, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, Bihar, Gujarat, Telangana and Uttar Pradesh account for 80% of India's caseload. The Prime Minister said India was heading in the right direction and that the states could defeat the virus by working together. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. In some other news, the health condition of former President Pranab Mukherjee remains critical after a brain surgery on Monday. According to doctors at Delhi's Army Research and Referral Hospital, former President Mukherjee revealed a large brain clot for which he underwent emergency life-saving surgery. Post-surgery, Mukherjee is on ventilator support. The former president also tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday. President Ramnath Kovind and several leaders across party lines have prayed for the speedy recovery of the former president. And the global novel coronavirus cases have crossed 20.2 million with over 6.35 lakh deaths.
The United States accounts for the highest number of infections at 5.2 million. Fatalities in the country have crossed 1.66 lakh. Brazil on Monday reported 703 deaths, raising its death toll to over 1 lakh. 22,048 new COVID-19 infections brought Brazil's tally over 3.05 million. The World Health Organization has insisted that despite the rise in cases in many parts of the world, there were green shoots of hope.
There are green shoots of hope, and no matter where a country, a region, a city, or a town is, it's never too late to turn the outbreak around. My message is crystal clear. Suppress, suppress, suppress the virus. If we suppress the virus effectively, we can safely open up societies.
In France, COVID-19 cases surpassed 2 lakh on Monday. Infections are rising across 332 active clusters in the country. The French government has imposed new curbs amid the rising number of infections. Wearing masks is now mandatory in several places in Paris. Germany reported 1,122 new cases on the day, bringing its tally to over 2.15 lakh. Despite a surge in cases, schools have reopened for the new semester. Wearing masks and social distancing must be followed by all students and staff. Britain, too, is preparing to reopen schools in September.
I just think over the last few months, teachers overall have done an incredible job looking after pupils during the crisis, but also getting ready for a full return to school in September. That's the crucial thing that we all...
Japan had 839 new cases, including 197 from Tokyo. Its caseload is nearly 50,000 with 1,053 deaths. In response to the spread of COVID-19, Japanese firms are encouraging remote working. Coronavirus infections are stabilizing in Australia's Victoria state, even as cases continue to rise in New South Wales. NSW reported 22 new infections, while Victoria had 331. New Zealand reinstated coronavirus restrictions on Tuesday after new locally transmitted cases were reported after a gap of 102 days. Auckland will move to alert level 3 restrictions for 3 days from Wednesday, while the rest of the country moved to alert level 2 restrictions.
And Russia on Tuesday launched the world's first COVID-19 vaccine. President Vladimir Putin said it offers sustainable immunity against the coronavirus. The new coronavirus vaccine has been named Sputnik 5 after the Soviet satellite. In a televised video conference call, President Putin told government ministers that the vaccine developed by Moscow's Gamaleya Institute had been given regulatory approval. Putin informed that the vaccine underwent all necessary tests and his daughter, who was inoculated with the vaccine, is doing well.
Насколько мне известно, сегодня утром впервые в мире зарегистрирована вакцина против новой коронавирусной инфекции. Я в этой связи хочу попросить министра здравоохранения Мурашко Михаила Альбертовича проинформировать нас поподробнее, хотя знаю, что она работает достаточно эффективно, формирует иммунитет устойчивый и, повторяю, прошла все необходимые.
The vaccine still has to complete final trials, raising concerns among some experts at the speed of its approval. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is discussing the newly approved COVID-19 vaccine with Russia.
Really, I can just say that we are in a close contact with the Russian health authorities, and discussions are ongoing with respect to possible WHO pre-qualification of the vaccine. But again, pre-qualification of any vaccine includes the rigorous review and assessment of all required safety and efficacy data.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte praised Russia's efforts in developing the vaccine. He also volunteered to work with Russia on vaccine trials, supply and production. In another development, China's Sinovac started phase 3 clinical trials for its COVID-19 vaccine in Indonesia, involving 1,620 volunteers. The vaccine is already in final stage trials involving 600 participants in China. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. News from different states of the country, and the BJP-led ruling coalition won the confidence motion through voice vote in the one-day Manipur Assembly session that was held on Monday.
The motion was moved by State Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, who is supported by MLAs from the NPP, NPF, Lok Janshakti Party, among others. Meanwhile, 6 Congress MLAs in Manipur have submitted their resignation to the Speaker. They are among the 8 Congress MLAs who defied the party whip on Monday and skipped the one-day assembly session. The resignations are yet to be accepted by the Speaker. The strength of the 60-member Manipur Assembly has now been reduced to 53 after the resignation of 3 BJP MLAs and disqualification of 4 other MLAs under the anti-defection law. The ruling coalition has 29 MLAs in all, including BJP's 18, while the opposition Congress is still the single largest party with 24 MLAs.
News from Rajasthan now. The Jaipur bench of the Rajasthan High Court will resume hearing on a petition challenging the merger of 6 BSP MLAs with the Congress on 13th of August. The arguments remained inconclusive on Tuesday.
The merger helped the Congress retain majority in the Assembly. It was challenged by BJP MLA Madan Dilawar. The petitioner demanded a stay on the execution of the merger order by the Speaker. Meanwhile, former Deputy Chief Minister Sachin Pilot and his supporter MLAs who met the top Congress leadership in New Delhi on Monday night expressed satisfaction over the meeting. Pilot said he and his supporters wanted to highlight some issues with the organization and the government. He said these have been placed on the party's forum and a 3-member committee constituted by the party chief will address them.
On to the other big story that we are tracking. The Supreme Court on Tuesday reiterated that a woman is entitled to equal rights over her parental property as it is in accordance with the 2005 amendment in the Hindu Succession Act. The Hindu Succession Act was amended in 2005. It gives daughters equal rights in their ancestral assets. The Supreme Court on Tuesday said a daughter can claim equal share in family property irrespective of whether her father was alive or not at the time of the amendment. The Supreme Court's remarks came during a hearing on a batch of appeals that raised the question if the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005 had a retrospective effect. Ruling in favor, the top court said, daughter is always a loving daughter for the rest of their life. The Supreme Court also clarified that the law applied to all daughters irrespective of whether they were born before or after the coming of the law. And now an update on the flood situation across different states, and the death toll in the landslide in Idukki district of Kerala rose to 52 on Tuesday.
Meanwhile, the Kerala government has asked the Tamil Nadu government to release water from the Mullaperiyar Dam to the Vaigai Dam in a phased manner, as the water level in Mullaperiyar Reservoir reached the danger mark after heavy rains in Idukki. Meanwhile, water receded in many low-lying areas of Kottayam and Alappuzha districts. There is no red alert warning in any of the state's 14 districts as the intensity of rains has decreased. The affected areas are slowly returning to normal. However, a yellow warning has been issued in Malappuram, Kozhikode, Kannur and Kasaragod districts for the next 24 hours. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has said that the state will remain vigilant for a few more days, even though the danger has reduced. In Bihar, the flood situation continues to be grim, with the floodwater entering new areas of Siwan and Madhepura. Over 75 lakh people across 16 districts are reeling under the impact of the floods. 24 people have lost their lives so far. Surging waters of the Gandak and Korsi spread out in fresh areas as the rivers continue to flow above the danger mark. In Uttarakhand, Badrinath, Kedarnath and Gangotri highways are blocked due to landslides following heavy rains in the last 24 hours. 3 people were killed in rain-related incidents in the state. After a week of torrential downpour, flooding and landslides, monsoon rains have eased over Karnataka. So far, 885 villages across 7 districts of Raichur, Belgavi, Kodagu, Chikmagalur, Shivamogga, Haveri and Hassan have been affected by the floods. The Met Department has issued a yellow alert in coastal Karnataka districts for the next 2 days. The Karnataka government has appealed for special financial assistance of 4,000 crore rupees from the central government to fund its flood relief and rehabilitation measures. The state has also asked for a second installment of 395 crore rupees to reinforce the State Disaster Response Fund, along with 4 more NDRF teams.
And that's a wrap on this edition of the 9 p.m. news. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV. Stay home, stay safe. Good night.